All right, and we are live.
Okay. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn Papa don't A.
And in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Jones. And when I am hosting, I am always joined by Mr. Paul Packler. Paul, how's it going?
Ta-da! What a dramatic change, a twist. The twisted ending of season 6 is that Scott joins me and
That's
Corey
right.
is not here.
You thought it was going to be Paul and Corey. Surprise, surprise. It's like our cliffhanger.
Paging Dr. What's the guy's name? He's so out of the mainstream at this point. What's his name?
Freud?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, you said doctor. I was like...
Yeah. I'm sure he's played a doctor in one of his movies, right?
I think you might. I think so.
Unbreakable, maybe? Is he the one that tells Bruce Willis?
Yes, he's the one that shows like the X-rays, I think, or something to him.
Boom.
And I think he's a medic on an ambulance in Signs. I think.
Okay, that movie starts out really great, and then
gets ridiculous. Yeah.
You know, I even kind of liked parts of The Village, but again, it's just terrible.
It felt like he did one thing good, like with Sixth Sense, and then he felt like he had to keep doing it.
I mean, The Sixth Sense, it's very good.
It is. It's like the first time you watch it, that's a great movie.
And then you have to watch it a second time because you have to go back and look at the clues.
Right. And then
the third time, you're like, But you go in for that scene where she talks about her dead mom.
Right.
Do I make her proud?
And then you watch it a fourth time just to kind of get nauseous over the Misha Barton vomiting scene too. You're like, oh God. Yeah. So.
And then the fifth time you're like, wait, that was Donnie Wahlberg?
And sixth time you watch it again, and it's still Donnie Wahlberg.
The sixth time is when you have all the sense.
M. Night Shyamalan, how has he not won an Oscar?
Yeah. Did he? Has he not?
No, he's never been nominated.
Oh, well, you know.
But, you know, because, like, for the longest time, it was like an M. Night Shyamalan film, and his name would be above the title. And then he did that bad Will Smith, Jaden Smith movie, like something Earth.
After Earth.
After Earth, and his name, and no one really knew that he directed that because his name wasn't above the title.
Yeah, I mean, he had troubles before that. He had The Happening. He had that weird devil elevator movie.
Oh yeah, The Happening is one of the most ridiculous movies ever.
Yeah.
Oh.
But speaking of The Sixth Sense, we are at the end, folks, of the 6th season.
The 6th season. Paul, we have one more season left.
So last week, Corey and I were talking about the fact that as of last episode where they did a clip show, you missed it, Scott, they did a clip show.
Yes, I heard about it.
It seems like on the set of Family Ties, they were ready for the end. They knew that coming back for season 7 was going to be the final season.
Mm-hmm. And that might be good for us. They might have some energy. You know what? They see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they want to rock out the last season.
That's a hopeful thing that someone who didn't watch most of the 6th season would say. I mean,
this is true.
Usually I would agree with you. I don't agree with you right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough, my friend. Yeah, everything I did see this season was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, before we even get started with this episode, let's just say season 6, it had some interesting ideas, but the energy of the show itself was gone. If I could give the overall arc of how this looks is, in this season, they did a lot of like very special ideas. They did a lot of guest stars where it was like, hey, we'd love to have this person on. Let's bring him on. But otherwise, the follow through was always lacking. And that was season 6.
Yeah, seems like they had. Yeah, they didn't do anything with characters. Like, they didn't want to take the time to do something new with a character. put him on a new journey.
No.
None
Until
of that.
tonight. Until this episode.
This was not horrible.
It really wasn't. It was very middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it could have gone a little bit further, but I don't have anything necessarily bad to say about this episode.
I think it's because we like Scott Valentine. Nick is really fun to watch. He's really good.
They somehow, when they shortchange all of their other characters in the Keaton household, for some reason with Nick, they never fuck him up. They always sort of do right by Nick as a character. I don't know why or how that happens.
Right. And how did he, they write him so well, how could they not give him a spin-off, figure out a spin-off vehicle for him? I know we said they tried like 4, but how could they not get that right, knowing the character so well? And really, in this episode, you see what the spin-off, I think it was one of the ideas, like Nick teaching kids is a great idea.
Yeah, that's very true. I forgot about that. There were like a few different aborted pilot ideas, and yeah, the teaching art was one of them.
Yeah, I loved watching him with those kids. I was like, Nick is a great teacher.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to do that show, though, it would be a show that would ultimately be about the kids, like in the same way that like Good Morning Miss Bliss was about. They tried to make it about the teachers. It was about the kids, and then became Saved by the Bell. You know,
true, good point. Fair enough.
Even then, they would Nick would get short shrift in the Nick Teaches Kids sitcom.
True, good point. But yeah, or just something in that world. I don't know.
What is this? This is season 6, episode 26. Father, can you spare a dime?
And in this like we said, this is a Nick focused episode. And once again, as has been the case this season, we're starting at the breakfast dinner table with Andy. He has been taking Nick's art class, and but the art class is about to wrap up. It's like a 6-week program. And Andy sat and he's making a painting for Nick.
Right. This is the first time that Andy, or Brian Bonsall, really doesn't seem like a dumb little kid anymore. Now he seems like a child actor. There's like a light behind his eyes that didn't used to be there. Even when throughout the season we were saying he's very good, now he seems like a child as opposed to like a cute baby. You know?
Yeah.
Now he actually seems like he can hold his own more so than even the deaf episode that we talked about before, where he was amazing. I don't know if you got to see that episode, Scott.
It was great. It was great.
It was a great episode.
It was a great episode. The best of the season, I would say.
But now Brian Bonsall, he's getting old. He's growing up.
Yeah. You gotta have he's still a kid. He still can have some tricks in his bag. But yeah, he's entering a new realm that we'll see in season 7.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
And so the idea is, this is the only thing in this episode where I'm like, what? Tell me what's happening here. Apparently, Nick has been teaching a 6-week child art course at like a public institution somewhere. Like it's like a summer camp art class.
Right.
So they're sad because it's ending. Its 6 weeks are up, but at the same time, the public space needs the space, so they're kicking them out. So it's like either one or the other, guys. Which one are we going with here? I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I was trying to figure out, okay, and then we get to the premise of Nick wants to keep doing this, which he should, but he needs a loan for $5,000 that we don't, what would that do? Like,
That's
is he going to,
because it doesn't make sense. Right. Like, if the case were they're going to kick him out unless he can come up with rent money,
right? In
order, it's like the Blues Brothers or any other. Like they're gonna get rid of the orphanage,
right? What are you gonna do?
But if it were that like he's just going to keep teaching unless he can't afford rent and he needs the $5,000 to keep it going, but they're like, no, it's a 6-week summer course thing, so we're just going to be done. Then I don't know what the stakes are.
Yeah, it was really confusing. Like you're getting a loan like to start business, but it was just confusing. Like and again, Family Ties writers not playing off what they've already established. You have him at this community center. You're right. It would make much more sense. He needs rent to keep his business going. That would make sense.
Exactly. And so this is where Alex and Nick come in from the bank.
Yeah.
And so that's where they were trying to get the $5,000, and Alex makes the joke or tells, what happened there is that Nick was like, I need $5,000 as soon as possible. And they thought it was a bank robbery.
Right.
Because Nick, he's a hooligan. He looks like a hooligan.
He does. Yeah, I need $5,000 quickly. It's like the way he said it. And then they ring the alarm.
Yeah. So when this happens, Mallory's like, oh no, Nick, now there's only one place that you can go to for $5,000. And everyone like shrinks in horror, thinking that he's going to ask Steven and Elise.
Right.
No, Nick has to ask his own father for the money.
Here is the situation in this episode. And Nick
does. My question is, does Nick? At the beginning, I'm not really sure. Does Nick keep in contact with his father at all, or no?
Hold on, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry. It broke up. Yeah, hold for edit.
Yeah, hold edit. Okay. Start with what your question was.
My question is, does Nick have any relationship with his father, or this is the first time that he's seen him in 15 years? Which one is it?
I think he says he hasn't. I think he gives a time. I think when he's like, no way, he left me when I was 11. We haven't spoken. I don't know if he gives a definite time, but it seems like it's been years.
Right. Because later, Dan Hedaya, BT Dubs, Dan Hedaya is the guest star.
Perfect casting.
Says that he kept giving him money and that he would come see him occasionally and stuff. So it's weird. Like maybe
that was weird.
Maybe they had some interactions over this time, but not much. To the point that Nick calls his father Joe.
Right. So things aren't good.
Right.
I kind of going along with this season 2 of the big funny bits that they like to do, just kind of as a little sub joke throughout the episode. Steven and Elise have come back from grocery shopping, and Steven has bought 300 turkey franks.
Oh, is that where they came from? I didn't realize what that was.
It was very weird how they set up because the turkey franks weren't wrapped. He brings it like they say, it was a great day grocery shopping. There was a sale on turkey franks. And Elise says it actually wasn't a sale. Yeah, it was. It was buy 300, get one free. And he reaches into the box and there's all these open turkey franks. Not in packages, but all these franks wide open in the box.
That doesn't seem hygienic.
Not at all. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, that's
oh my God, this is what Damon was talking about.
Oh, what was Damon talking about?
He was talking about that it was weird that there were a bunch of loose hot dog franks in a box.
Who packs up loose hot dog franks?
Nobody. The prop master.
Yeah, they're like, we got to put, it was like craft services had all these franks. Let's do something with them.
I mean, is this a proto Walmart or Costco joke?
It could have laid the foundation for Costco.
This is where it was invented. This is where Sam's Club was invented in this episode.
Because he was like, someone may want 300 turkey franks. And as we go to see in this episode, Steven puts them to good use.
Yeah, if you're gonna use that many, then you should get that many.
And you should use them quickly because they're not wrapped.
That is a mitigating factor, yes.
So we find there were some weird edits. Like basically this scene ends with Nick saying, no, my dad walked out on us. We haven't spoken in years. He walked out on us when I was 11. I'm not talking to him. And that was the cut to the next scene. Like,
this episode's full of weird cuts, yeah.
It really is. I think, there's another one coming up too. And so we cut to the Keaton living room, and they have arranged, as always, the Keatons are very hospitable, to have Joe come over to their house, which is like Nick defines as like neutral turf, to propose Nick's art school and loan to his dad.
So in real life, oh no, I'm getting an echo.
Oh no.
Echo. Here, 1 second. Okay, it's stopped.
Hey.
Pause for editing. So in the real life world that we live in occasionally here, You don't go to someone else's house to have like a family beatdown.
No. Nor does a family want to host a family beatdown. Like,
No.
this is it. You haven't spoken to your dad in years. Please come over to our place and reconnect.
I would have been more on board for this if he was like, thanks for letting me come over and have my dad meet here on neutral territory. I know this is the only set that we use, and so it's really appreciative. It would only be more problems to spend money to create new sets.
But Paul, that wouldn't work in this episode because we see Joe's office.
And we see the school.
So it's not a set issue here. Just go down to Joe, go down to Joe's office, have the scene there.
Yeah, it would make more sense actually. Now, you know what? At the beginning, I said that I only had like one problem with this episode. Again, I've got many problems with this episode.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll find more. We again bring up the turkey franks. Again, Family Ties really wants to hit home their big physical prop jokes. So Steven comes out with all these hors d'oeuvres that he has cooked with turkey franks. And he can't just do that. He has to have like on a big chef hat and chef apron.
Yeah, and we get a big homophobic laugh from the audience because Steven is dressed in an apron, which is what women folk wear, so they love that.
Right.
They're hooting and hollering.
Yeah, they love it. They think it's great.
And also we established that Nick's dad is a used car salesman. That Mallory is a huge fan of his commercials.
Yeah, he's one of those, like every town has the local used car salesman that does the wacky commercials.
Mm-hmm.
He's that guy.
In Pittsburgh, we have one where they have a jingle.
Oh.
And it's just like in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he's like, the stars at night are big and bright, clap, 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 and everybody sings Deep in the Heart of Texas.
Right.
So in Pittsburgh, if I were to go Century 3 Chevrolet, then other people would go Lebanon Church Road, Pittsburgh, minutes from the Mon. So that's
wow. And they always get the address in the jingle. It's pretty good.
So it's tattooed in my brain.
Here's keys on Van Nuys.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one. It's Keys Toyota. The guy, whoever Mr. Keys is, he has like several car dealerships. So you hear it, yeah.
It's got that consonance. The
yeah, hits you. Yeah. So Nick's dad comes over, and of course we got to have the hey joke.
They speak monosyllabically to each other. Hey back, hey again. It's like a Meisner exercise.
It's a Meisner exercise.
Now Dan Hedaya has been on Cheers. He's been on, like, in college, one of my friends and I were going to do a thing before podcasts existed where we were just going to watch all of Dan Hedaya's body of work and probably talk about it to a wall. Now that podcasts exist, we could do that to dozens of listeners.
So if you want to hear the spin-off podcast once we're wrapped with Quality Time, Hedaya Talk with Paul Packler.
But at the same time, we love Dan Hedaya because he played the father, Mr. Batabi, in Night at the Roxbury.
Oh, he's amazing. He also played the father in Clueless too.
Yes.
He's great. He's like one of those character actors you're just glad that he's in the movie or on the show. No
matter what he's in, he always elevates it.
Yeah. And he was great in this.
He was, yes.
He was really good. So we have to notice the audience that night on Family Ties, they were a hot audience because Steven says the line, after they do the hey, Steven says the line of they're speaking Nickanese, and the audience fucking loves it.
Yeah, I was again shocked that they thought that this was so funny. It was cute, but it wasn't.
I was like, that's not a bad line, but
people's knees had to be replaced, their kneecaps, because they were slapped so hard.
Paul, we haven't done this in a while, but and I know Corey's usually the one that brings this up because he's our fashion expert. Did you notice Nick's shirt?
Nick's shirt. It was a T-shirt, right? And it had something like a face on it.
No, that was after this or before this. This was like a blue long sleeve shirt with like a billion buttons. Like it was it looked like a long sleeve Polo West type shirt, like something you find at like Old Navy or something.
Okay.
But it had and it was a button up, which normally you would picture to be like 4 buttons maybe, but he had like 10 buttons down, and there was these weird clips on either end that I could not figure out what it was. So it was like this, not unlike the shirt I'm wearing right now, blue, but it with the button up stuff, it made it look very blousy.
Interesting.
And I didn't know what was clipping it. It was the weird. I was perplexed by this shirt.
Were you a fan of it, or did you find the perplexosity to be too much to take?
It was too much to take. Versace had been like too much.
Too much. Too many notes, as they say in Amadeus, the movie.
Yes, I didn't understand the shirt.
I'll say this. Mallory wore a few dresses in this episode and looked really hot. Like she had a lot of really cool outfits that I was like, oh, these are good outfits for Justine Bateman.
Yeah, and it wasn't like over the top nostalgia 80s outfits either. It was
no,
like, right?
these were things that I think people would wear today. And again, people sort of do nostalgia-y or looking back styles of things. These were just kind of timeless, good outfits.
I agree. Once again, Justine Bateman, always solid. She was great in this episode.
She was actually, for as little as she had to do, because she liked Joe more, and the punchlines that she had, like she was sort of the glue of this episode. The punchlines that she had, and doing that sort of like thankless job of being the glue of an episode, she did a great job to something that you wouldn't expect this to have much of anything. She nailed it.
Yeah, I agree.
Alex wants to buy a car. That's his thing.
Yeah, they bring that in there and they keep really hammering it. Like, and he wants to buy a car. Like, he wants to get like it starts off with like a Jaguar for practically for free. That's what he wants. But he also wants to pay like only $500 for a car. That number keeps popping up.
Yeah, I don't know what the exchange rate for today's inflation from 1988 would be, but I'm guessing that would be like $8,000, $10,000, something like that. $500. I don't know. That seems, maybe I'm being too much.
Yeah, but it seemed. Yeah, and there's kind of a funny scene with him and Joe towards the end of negotiating the deal.
How much do cars cost now? What's the going rate on a normal car?
On like a used car?
Okay.
I would say if you are going to like CarMax,
okay,
which is like it's a good place to get like a used car and everything. I would say if you're getting like I would say depending on when you get like let's say a basic sedan, like a 4-door car, nothing too fancy. I would say how much?
$15,000?
Between 15 to 20.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's what you could get it for, yeah.
The one car that I bought was $8,000.
Okay. I didn't ever knew you even owned a car at one point. Yeah. I was like, I've never known you to drive in like forever.
Yeah, that when you knew me to drive was an $8,000 car.
Wow.
It was always the most embarrassing. I had a two-door manual Chevy Cavalier, and when I would drive down to Laguna Beach, was always the most embarrassing part. I was fine with it otherwise. I love that car. But when you're driving through Laguna Beach, you feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. The class impact is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have this meeting with the family, and Joe's a charmer. Like he's he automatically wants to kind of try to sell him on a car, and Nick is kind of embarrassed by it. And Nick really is feeling awkward. He wants to get right to the point of his art school and wanting $5,000, which I feel for Nick. I get it. I get the idea of him wanting to. Hey, Maisie's here.
Hey,
Maisie's stopping in on the show, and Henry's here too.
Hey, family.
Hey, family. What a family break.
Her hair is so long.
Her hair is kind of long. She's obsessed with you, Paul. She's like,
hi.
Hi. Oh, I love you, girl. I'll be right out, okay? Go see Mama. Okay.
Bye, Maisie.
Oh, I love you, baby. Oh.
She's a movie star. She's on TV.
She is a movie star. That's you on TV. That's right. That's you. And she's looking at you, Paul. She's like, you're in this small little box. Okay, go to Mama. I'll tell you in just a minute, okay? I'll be right out, okay? Hey, baby. One last hug. One last hug. Go see Mama.
That's hilarious.
I know, baby.
Oh. She never hugs you. This is all just for the camera.
It's just like, okay. Mama's coming right back. All right, Brian, we'll pick up for editing here. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I feel for Nick. I get it. Your dad left you when you're 11, but the first thing you're trying to do is ask him for $5,000 and not really wanting to make small talk. Regardless of your feelings, that even if it's from a selfish motive, it doesn't seem to be like how to get what you want necessarily, right?
Exactly. This is where their relationship, it would be nice if we had some more answered questions about it. Because what happens is he's like, they're talking, he's chit-chatting with the Keatons whom he's meeting for the first time, and there's a situation where he's like, Nick, it's good to see you. Come here, give me a hug. And Nick's like, no, I don't want to. And he's like, come on, I'm your dad. Give me a hug.
Right.
And then that's the commercial break, folks. Like, that's the weirdest.
That's the weirdest cut. Yes, that was the other cut. Yes, it's so weird. I don't get it.
Don't get it at all. Don't get it at all. And so, I think we'll leave it there as we go into our commercial break, but we'll talk about this further because it's so strange. We'll be right back. So.
Okay, let me hand Maisie up here.
No, it's fine.
Oh, you good? Okay, let her sit here. Yeah, she's being really good. Hold on, let me close the door here really quick. Okay. Okay. All right, you ready to be a co-host? Okay, let's be co-host. Okay. Here we go.
When we come back, can she say hello, or is she...
Let me see if I can get her. I can probably get her to wave hi or say hi. Okay.
All right. And we're back.
Can you say hi? Hi. Can you say hi?
Hi.
If you're watching, Maisie is waving to all you guys.
If you're just listening, he was trying to coax me to say hi. He was like, Paul, can you say hi? And I did. I did say hi.
I just say hi. See? Come on, say hi. That's
so
awesome.
Anyway, so yeah, it's this weird thing where Nick's trying to Maisie keeps waving.
Yep.
Nick is trying to get his dad to give him money, but at the same time he's being a dick about it. And as the son of a used car salesman, you would think he would be able to make a deal better.
Yeah, and you just get the feeling that was the thing that troubled me about this episode is I want to be on Nick's side, but at the same time, he is kind of being a dick of just give me $5,000, Dad.
And that's a lot of money to ask for.
Yeah, that's not like, and his dad is actually, I have to say, his dad is actually being very reasonable at a point. Like, he's like, okay, come on down to the office. This is a little bit later, but come on down to the office and I'll write you a check.
And it's definitely because he feels guilty about not being there for Nick. Like, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that it seems like Joe Moore is a nice guy. He's a bad father. Like, he's just not the type of person who is good at being a father.
Mm-hmm.
But he seems like a generally likable person to others. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means you're not a good person if you shirk your duties in that way. But
yeah, I mean, not everybody is a father who would sit down with their child and, you know, record a podcast and you know, talk about a show that's, you know, 30 plus years old. Not every father would do that with their child. It seems like, again, this is where we get like murky waters with Family Ties. Is he just doesn't seem like the type of person that has that father gear. Is one thing, and then also, but we also get like there's several reasons of why things went south or why Joe left. One is that he never loved Nick's mom, that she got pregnant and they tried to make it work and it just didn't work out. And that would have been like, I kind of wish they kind of left it at that, but then they also kind of throw in this seedy stuff with Joe, that he, you know, was drinking with his buddies, that he went to the pool hall, that he gambled, which also kind of makes him more irresponsible and not a good father. You know, there's kind of two different angles here, and I wasn't sure if they were able to decide like what really happened, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like if he and Nick's mom don't get along and never really wanted to be together and stuck together for 11 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That I would think that he would have had a closer attachment to Nick, being 11 years old, that going into adolescence and stuff like that, he'd want to be a part of Nick's life. That like he wouldn't be some party animal who's constantly going to the pool hall when his kid's 13 years old. Like he would still want to be a part of Nick's life.
Right, exactly. Instead,
it's weird. By keeping it flimsy like this, it makes it worse. Right.
Yeah, and again, they could have cleared that up as instead of having his father be out of the picture for 11 years, since he's been 11, they could have made it there's like, I have a bad relationship with my dad. We don't really see eye to eye, or we don't speak that often. You know, that Joe's in the picture a little bit, but obviously wasn't a great dad, and Nick still has animosity about that. Right. That would have made a little bit more sense, and it could have helped with Nick going to his dad and jumping in on the $5,000 a little bit if they had been speaking, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is this first scene after the commercial break? Like, what even happens?
So I'm trying to. We are.
Is it the classroom? Oh, yeah. Take a break. Go.
Yeah, it is the classroom. Hold on. Okay. Go see Mama. Yes, we are back in the classroom, and all the kids are painting the clown.
Right.
And it's like the last day of the class, and Nick's bummed out about it, of course.
And this is where we get to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt making his reprisal in season 6 of Family Ties. They brought him back almost immediately.
He's great, even though he has a couple lines. Like you can see this kid, you know, he's got something.
He's cute. He knows how to make a joke work.
Yep. I wonder if he was ever in the running for Andy.
No, he's younger than Andy, I think.
I think you might be right.
I think he's a little bit too young.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Either way. And so this is like it's over, and Mallory is like, you really should go down and, you know, talk to your dad. To go down to his see, this is where I'm lost. This is what was weird. Like the first meeting, we don't even know how it ends because it's just on that hug. Did they have a conversation? That was the weird transition. We don't know if Joe's going to give him the money or if they're going to meet later, or if they're going to talk. It just goes from I'm not giving you a hug to this classroom, and then it's Mallory saying you should go down and really talk to your dad at his office.
Right.
That was strange. Like nothing happened at that family meeting.
No, yeah, they could have just left it there and stayed in that scene.
Yeah, come back to that.
And so he does. He goes down to the office,
and
that is where. Is this where Alex is trying to like talk his way into getting a car, and they have the whole lemon joke?
Yeah, they have the whole lemon, the citrusy flavor to it. It's the negotiating back and forth. And Joe basically wants Alice to take a test drive, but he tells him not to turn right.
It's a funny joke.
It's a good bit. Audience loved it.
Again, this is a very easy audience to impress.
Oh, wait, Paul, before we get into this, we forgot the part, what I texted you earlier might be your favorite Family Ties joke.
Yes, I just thought of that myself. What was it? Was it the Reagan
Yes.
cabinet?
Yes. Yes.
So
and the audience loved that too.
They applauded it. It got a clap applause. So like Andy is trying to make a popsicle stick bread box. I mean,
that's not going to keep bread.
If my kid had a teacher and was like, you know what, I really like Mr. Moore. He's a great art teacher. I want to give him a present. And I'd be like, well, little Paul Jr., what do you want to make to thank him for the time that he spent teaching you to appreciate and love art? And he said, oh, I want to take popsicle sticks and make a bread box. I wouldn't wait until he's 11 to walk out the door, is what I'm saying.
I'm done. I can't work with this.
Yeah, I can't work with this. I'm going out to get a pack of smokes, and I'll never see you again.
It didn't work.
I mean, gang, it's 1988. I don't know. Maybe we have a lot of young listeners, and they don't know, but in 1988, bread boxes were not a thing.
They weren't a thing, and you certainly would if they were, you would sickle sticks.
Yeah, I can't imagine that those are airtight enough to keep the bread safe.
Yes. But the joke is, Alex said, Andy, we agreed on making the Reagan Ranch. And he had a whole, plan, schematics and everything. And Elise comes in with the lineup. Something, I forget what Alex's setup is.
He's like, we agreed on the Reagan Popsicle Ranch. And she's like, what about a Reagan Popsicle prison for his cabinet?
Yeah.
Because the Iran-Contra scandal was going on where Ronald Reagan sold weapons. Or I'm sorry, traded weapons to Iran in order to get money to then give weapons to the Contras, who were death squads in Central America who killed nuns and civilians because they were right-wing, and he didn't like the left-wing governments in Central America. So he gave it to Iran, who was our sworn enemy at the time, something different than now, by the way. And in order to do that, so they suck.
Yeah, and
Ronald Reagan sucks is my point.
Right.
And he got away with it because he was so fucking stupid. But you know who was involved in that too? The next president of the United States, George H.W. Bush.
Because he was the head of the CIA.
Yeah, and so he was involved. Oliver North, Fox News contributor, was involved, and he got away with it because people think that the military is really cool beans. And so when he testified in front of the Senate, they were like, "Oh wow, he wears a uniform, so he's really cool."
He's trustworthy.
Yeah, like General John Kelly, who's a psychotic racist, but people think that he's the quote adult in the room.
Right, which is a scary thought.
I mean, listen, I've had this beer, and so now. Now I'm ranting about Iran-Contra, but
my dream, Paul, is if next time you're visiting out here, just to take you to the Reagan Library just to see your head explode.
I mean, I've been to the Nixon Library twice and loved it both times. Because Nixon, I have this strange love-hatred for, whereas Ronald Reagan, it's just hatred.
Yeah, it was the whitest place I've ever been in my entire life.
I went to the Nixon Library when I was 24, like right when we first met. I went there on my day off from Disney.
Yeah.
In the middle of the day, I drove up to Yorba Linda. And had you doubled my age at the time, I would have still been the youngest person at this museum.
Yep, that's the Reagan Library too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to throw that. We had to throw that because I was like, this might be Paul's favorite joke in Family Ties ever.
It was good. I'm glad that they did that because they've really been ducking a lot of Reagan stuff.
Yeah, I was like, it's good to see them kind of get back to the original premise of this, of the the politics in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so back to Joe's office. So we have this. So Alex goes to test drive this car, and now we have the kind of this face to face with Nick and his dad. And they're both Joe writes him a check. He's just okay. Here he goes. That's what you need. Okay. And he's like, but the least you can do is call me dad. You owe me that. And Nick doesn't want to do it. And so they both kind of have this, they kind of hash it out with both presenting their sides of their story of their experience. Joe kind of telling Nick is like, I never loved your mother. We stuck together because, she was pregnant. And then Nick talking about what it meant for him to, be 11 years old and his dad walking out on him.
Yeah. Again, the details of their relationship are murky to the point of, not that we don't know what's going on, but it just seems like it's not organic, and it doesn't seem like the pieces fit together in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels like in episodes like this, you have a side that you're on, and I didn't know what side to take necessarily.
No.
That was what was weird. Like when Joe said the whole thing about leaving the mom when, because he didn't love her, I was like, okay, well, that happens to people. I was kind of understanding Joe a little bit, and then it was just so back and forth. Yeah.
Right. There also, in this episode, was the first time that I really noticed that the direction of the blocking of the actors was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
They did these two guys no favors, where every time it got dramatic, Dan Hedaya or Nick would turn and look away from them. Like one was facing the audience, the other person's facing stage right, and you're just like, this looks so stagey. It doesn't look real at all. And through 6 seasons of Family Ties, I've never really had that where I'm like, oh, that doesn't work. This was awful.
Yeah, one of them is in the foreground, while the close-ups on the yeah, it's weird.
If it were on stage, it would be fine. Here, it looks so fake.
Yeah, it looked really bad. And we end this scene basically with Nick tossing the check back to his dad. He's like, I don't want this. If that's what you weren't a father to me, and if that's what it means for me to have this money, he gives it back to him.
Which doesn't make any sense. The deal is you need the $5,000. He wants you to call him dad. He's willing to give it to you either way. And so you throw it in his face and be like, no, I don't want to have a slightly uncomfortable discussion with you. So here's your money back.
Right. And it's like, Nick, what were you expecting to begin with? You started off this episode pretty much just wanting to ask him for the money, getting the money, and have nothing to do with him. And he's kind of offering you that. All you have, just acknowledge that he's your dad.
Yeah. Which is not a lot to ask for. I mean, it might be, in the history of their relationship, it might be shitty, but it's not a lot to ask for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the final scene, or the final scene takes place back at the school again. Got to use those sets that you built.
Gotta work them.
And so this is the final day of class, which I thought the other one was, but Nick is giving everybody hugs. He's thanking them for being there. Everyone's sad that this is the final class. Andy gives him the wrapped up bread box. And he goes, here, Nick, thank you for teaching. I wanted to give you this present. It's a bread box. It's wrapped up. And he tells him what's inside, which seems to me to be defeating the purpose.
Right. Yeah, you wrapped it up and it's still not.
Then Alex comes over and goes, Nick, I also made you something, and it's let me just say this. It's gorgeous. If that's what the actual Reagan Ranch looks like, gorgeous.
It's impressive. It's a great model. And it was just a little funny bit they wanted to do because Alex, of course, can't give it to Nick. He worked too hard on it. He's like, no, this is mine. And he did it was like a reference to The Jerk. It's like, and I'm taking this too. I'm taking this too.
So the bit of him and Nick wrestling over the or like a tug of war over the model didn't really get much of a laugh.
Yeah.
And so Michael J. Fox, as he's exiting the set, goes down to the table where children had been building something and just takes something. Who even knows? It was obviously improvised.
Yeah.
And he just goes, and I'm taking this too. And he walks out, and that got a laugh. So I was like,
Yeah.
good job, Michael J. Fox.
He made it work. That's why he's a pro.
Yep.
Yep. And so Joe has come to the art class as we're wrapping up, and him and Nick, again, right after we've had this intense, conversation, now we're having another intense conversation, but this one a little bit more, trying to reconcile things.
As a quick aside before we get too far into this moment, Scott, I just want to say there's a moment where, as Nick is teaching the kids and saying goodbye to all of them, at the top of the scene, Dan Hedaya walks in and sees this happening.
Yes.
And in a normal sitcom, it would be a situation of like a dawning where Dan Hedaya is like, oh shit, this is how I should have been. Or, oh shit, my son is really good at this. I'm going to give him the check and just walk out and not even have a conversation. Just be like, Nick, you wowed me. Here, take this and I'll leave you alone. Because I see how much these kids need you or whatever. But because they want to give Dan Hedaya more airtime or whatever, or they have to run out the clock on the episode, they start from zero. Once everybody leaves, now we start the scene with Dan Hedaya talking to Steve and Elise, being like, hey, I'm a good father too. Hey, you got smokes?
I like kids. Yeah.
And it's dumb because you see him come in. They make a point that you see him come in, and then they start him being an idiot, as opposed to that he's learned something while being there.
Yeah, I saw my son be the father that I never was, or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Once again, we write Family Ties better.
Better than Family Ties. So the scene does start, like you were saying, it starts with him being like, Nick, I brought the check. I want to be your dad, and other nonsense. I mean, is there other stuff that he even says?
There was okay, so this is what kind of creeped me out a little bit. This is what he says. He's like, I followed everything you did. And Nick's like, you did? He goes, yeah, remember your first art show? I snuck in when you were left because I didn't want you to see me there.
Because I assumed that you didn't want me to be there.
Yeah, so he's been like popping in at his kids' things after his kid has left.
Scott, if I may tie this back, it's kind of like the end of The Sixth Sense.
You're right. And Dan Hedaya is dead.
Yeah. And he came to see Nick dance. And Nick looked like an angel.
Looked like an angel. Oh my God.
What does that mean, Mama?
Oh God, it's so heartbreaking. Oh, Paul.
I make her proud.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, he like bought one of Nick's first pieces. It's hanging in his room. And he realizes that, if he never talks to Nick again, that's the only thing he's going to have of him. So, but
interesting. I thought that was some good dialogue, or at least how it ties things together.
Yeah. I like the buying thing. The whole sneaking thing. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But basically, it wraps up. It's like, I really want to make an effort to reconcile with you, and this time I'm giving you the $5,000, and you're going to take it, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk.
And he wants to go get some dinner and chat about their relationship for real this time.
Yep.
And Nick's like, well, I guess I will, Dad.
That's exactly how it is.
It's a little heavy-handed, and then he gives him a hug.
Yeah. You got to hit the dad. There's that beat and then dad.
Yeah. And you know what? As a season finale, not terrible.
Not terrible. And a terrible season, not a terrible finale.
No. I thought I thought the guest star was great. I thought Nick was great. I thought Mallory was great. I thought Alex B. Keaton was fine. Yeah. Steve and Elise did what they had to do.
Yeah, they're kind of out of it at this point.
Jennifer really got short-shrifted this episode.
Yeah. For most of the season, I mean, she had the whole book banning thing, but They haven't given her that much.
More often than not, though, she got like good jokes in or stuff. This episode, she really, not so much.
Yeah, it's true. Well, guys, that is the end of season 6. We are going to be back in a couple weeks with the beginning of the end of season 7. This is it, Paul. The final season for us, man.
The final countdown.
Corey is going to be so happy.
So, Scott, six seasons in, do you have anything that you want to say about Family Ties?
I've been thinking about that. I want to save it for when we finish up season 7.
Oh, you want to save it for the end?
I want to save it for the very end.
All right. That's fine.
But as far as this season, and I feel like I can't give a ton of opinion because you guys held down the fort because my workload was crazy.
Right.
It does, from what I've checked in with, this has been a tiring season. Like, I feel what the cast was probably feeling.
Yes. That the malaise of season 6 is the thing.
And hopefully that malaise hasn't transferred over into quality time with Family Ties.
Well, it has, but I hope that we're at least engaging in our malaise.
Yes. Well, for questions and comments, be sure to write us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. And be sure to follow us for updates on Twitter at QTWFT. Each of us is also on Twitter. I'm at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler, and Corey is at Core Pep.
And be sure to like our Facebook page. We like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is an online conglomerate of geek media, providing its readers with daily insights and reviews into the geek pop culture spectrum. They also help independent creative artists. Please check out everything that they do. We like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the theme song Without Us. Check out Perry's music at perryadams.com. We like to thank Brian Dillon, Fanbase Press's president, who also edits our show. And lastly, Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, for designing our logo.
Now, gang.
Yeah.
We're going to be off for 2 weeks, and then we will return. I don't have the dates in front of me. As I said, I've had my magic beer. So, we'll be back. Just keep in touch with us on social media, and you'll find out. We love you. Thank you for listening to all these seasons of Quality Time with Family Ties. And I honestly look forward to Scott joining us more frequently into season 7 as we take our victory lap in season 7. So we love you. We'll see you after this break.
Love you guys.
Cha la la la.